Keanu Reeves shocks Trevor Noah. What he said will leave you speechless when Trevor Noah invited Keanu Reeves to his show. He expected charm, humility, and maybe a few stories from the set. What he didn't expect was to be completely floored. The audience laughed, then fell silent. What started as a casual chat turned into one of the most powerful, unscripted moments ever witnessed on air. Keanu didn't just speak, he unloaded something raw, something real. The entire room shifted. Trevor sat back, stunned. You could hear a pin drop, then applause erupted, not out of politeness, but out of respect, because what Keanu revealed wasn't just shocking. It was human, vulnerable, true. This wasn't acting, this was life, stripped bare. And if you thought you knew who Keanu Reeves was, think again. What he shared will echo far beyond the studio lights and might just change how you see everything. Miss this moment, and you'll miss history in the making. It started just like any other interview, laughter in the air, cameras rolling, a comfortable vibe humming across the stage. The kind of energy where you think, this is going to be light, funny, maybe a little deep if it goes there. And at first, that's exactly what it was. Some jokes, some stories, a few awkward compliments thrown in like confetti. The audience chuckled, Trevor flashed that signature grin, and the rhythm felt predictable. Safe, but then came that asterisk question, simple on the surface, something like, "You've been famous for so long. What keeps you grounded?" It was the kind of question you answer with a quick line about family, or fans, or the craft of acting. But instead, there was this pause. Not long enough to be awkward, but long enough to feel different. His smile faded just slightly, not gone, but softened. You could feel the shift before you heard it. He leaned in, not physically, but emotionally. And you could tell he wasn't answering a question anymore. He was inviting you into a space most people keep locked up. He spoke about how sometimes fame isn't a blessing, it's a mirror. And when you're not proud of what you see inside, the spotlight just makes it harder to look away. He didn't name, drop, or make it poetic. He just spoke, raw, honest, like he forgot there were cameras. He said that no matter how much applause you get, or how many red carpets you walk, there's a part of you that still whispers asterisk. Do they really see me? Or just the version they want me to be? Asterisk. That line hit like a punch in the gut because it wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't clever. It was asterisk, true asterisk. The crowd got quieter. The laughter was gone, replaced with something heavier. Trevor sat back, almost surprised. His usual rhythm of jumping in with a clever comeback, it stopped. He just listened, we all did. Because in that moment the mask dropped. Not just his but everyone's. It felt like a reminder that we all wear faces. We all protect something. And once in a while, when someone's brave enough to speak without the mask, it gives the rest of us permission to feel something real. He could have chosen the safe answer, the polished soundbite, but he didn't. He chose the truth. And when someone chooses truth in a world full of filters, it doesn't just land, it stays . And that's when I realized, some of the loudest moments in life don't come with applause. They come in silence, when hearts listen louder than ears ever could. There's something strange about silence when you're a kid. It's not peaceful, it's loud in its own way, especially when the silence comes from someone who's supposed to be your anchor. He wasn't trying to stir sympathy, that much was clear. There wasn't any anger in his voice either, just memory, a memory that had clearly lived inside him for a long time. He started speaking about his father, not with bitterness, but with this haunting calm, like someone who had finally stopped trying to understand a puzzle that never had all the pieces. He said that growing up, the absence was louder than any argument. No shouting, no slammed doors, just emptiness. His father left when he was still young enough to believe in superheroes and still old enough to feel abandoned. And while everyone around him said, "You'll be okay, you're strong," he said he didn't feel strong. He felt invisible asterisk. There was no dramatic delivery, no swelling music, just truth, and the room shifted again. He talked about how the world tends to applaud success like it erases pain. But some pain, he said, doesn't fade with time. It just finds new ways to live inside you. And when the person who's supposed to guide you vanishes without explanation, it doesn't just affect your childhood. It changes how you trust the world, how you trust yourself. You start wondering if you're hard to love. You start building walls before you even know what love is. And still, there was no blame in his voice. That's what made it hit harder. He wasn't trying to point fingers. He was trying to show how deep the roots go. How even in the glow of movie premieres and standing ovations, there's a shadow that walks with you. Trevor sat completely still, not out of politeness, out of respect. The audience was quiet again, not because they didn't know what to say, but because they were being given something real, something unfiltered. He shared that what made it harder was that he carried the silence into his adult life, that he learned to keep things inside, to be strong for others, even when he was crumbling. Because when you grow up learning not to expect answers, you stop asking questions. You just keep moving. But he also said something unexpected. He said that the very pain that nearly broke him shaped him. That it gave him a kind of empathy most people overlook. And that maybe, just maybe, the absence of love is what taught him how deeply it matters to give it, freely, without keeping score. He didn't need anyone to understand the full weight of it. He just wanted to remind us. Sometimes the loudest part of your story is the silence you survived. Some pain never asks for attention, it just quietly stays. And when he brought her up, you could feel the room inhale, almost sensing where the moment was about to go. He didn't introduce the story like a headline. He just said her name softly, like it still lived in his mouth. Not as a memory, as a presence. She wasn't famous to the world. She didn't need to be, to him. She was everything. The kind of love that shows up in the quiet moments, the small, ordinary stuff. The way she laughed when he mispronounced a word, or how she danced barefoot in the kitchen when no one was watching. She was the kind of person you only meet once, if you're lucky. He told us about how they found out they were going to be parents. And for a moment, his eyes lit up like they were back in that exact second. The way she cried when she told him, the way he held her like time had frozen. He said everything changed in that moment. Life suddenly had weight, purpose, but then, almost without warning, it all unraveled. Their daughter was stillborn. He didn't say it to shock anyone. He didn't even raise his voice. He just looked down for a second, like he could still feel that cold hospital room. The hope that had filled their hearts vanished in a breath, and grief, real grief, isn't loud, it's paralyzing. He said there was no script for it, no way to prepare. You just carry it, like wet clothes you can't take off. And then, barely a year later, she was gone too. A car crash, just like that. The one person who made sense of everything, ripped away before he could even finish healing. He didn't cry when he said it. He didn't need to. The room was already on the verge for him. Trevor didn't speak. No one did. There was nothing to say. He didn't turn it into a story about tragedy. He turned it into a message about presence, about how fragile life really is, about how we hold onto things, names, voices, laughter, not because we want to live in the past, but because the people we lose never truly leave. They just move into the spaces we can't see. He said love doesn't end when someone dies. It changes form. It becomes memory, protection, sometimes even strength. And no matter how much time passes, there's a corner of your heart that stays reserved for them. Untouched, unshakable. And that's when he said something that stayed with everyone. Asterisk a grief is the price we pay for love, and I would pay it again without hesitation just to have had her once. Asterisk he didn't bring it up like it was some kind of heroic flex. In fact, if Trevor hadn't asked about the projects he turned down, he probably wouldn't have mentioned it at all. But when he did, there was this small shrug, like it wasn't that big of a deal. Like walking away from asterisk, $12 million asterisk was just another Tuesday. Everyone leaned in. He said it happened right after the first film of a major franchise took off. The studio called, they were ready to roll on the sequel, and they wanted him back bigger, louder, flashier. And he just said no, no negotiation, no conditions, just asterisk, no asterisk. It was one of those moments that made everyone blink twice. Trevor, clearly baffled, asked why, not in disbelief but with that same why, died curiosity we all had. And that's when the conversation took another unexpected turn. He said it wasn't about the money, never was. He grew up knowing what it meant to have nothing. So when money started coming in, he never clung to it like it was oxygen. What mattered more, always, was people, trust, meaning, and that sequel, it violated all three. He shared that someone, an unsung crew member, had been mistreated by the studio behind the scenes. Nothing scandalous enough to make headlines, but cruel enough to cut deep. This person had worked hard, given their all, and been tossed aside like they didn't matter the second the credits rolled. And no one said anything except him. He said, asterisk, if the people building the foundation aren't treated with respect, then what are we even standing on? Asterisk, the room was silent again. Not from shock this time, but from admiration, because we all knew he didn't asterisk have asterisk to do that. No one would have blamed him for signing on, collecting the check, and walking away richer. But that wasn't who he was, not then, not ever. He explained that walking away wasn't about revenge or making a point. It was about living with himself, looking in the mirror and not feeling like he betrayed something sacred inside him. That quiet place where your principles live, and when you go against them, even if no one sees it, you asterisk feel asterisk it. He said the world doesn't need more people chasing status. It needs more people willing to pause and ask, asterisk, who gets hurt if I say yes to this? Asterisk, and sometimes the right answer, the only answer, is asterisk, no asterisk. The 12 million didn't matter, but the promise he made to himself, that mattered more than anything. And in that moment, it wasn't about a paycheck or a part. It was about integrity. And when you choose integrity over opportunity, you don't lose. You asterisk win quietly asterisk. Asterisk, because sometimes the loudest statement you can make is walking away. Asterisk, you could almost see it happen in real time. The exact second Trevor Noah, one of the sharpest minds and quickest tongues in television, ran out of words, no punchline, no clever pivot. Just this look in his eyes like he'd just been hit with something way deeper than he expected. And honestly, we all felt it. It wasn't that the stories were sad. It wasn't even the gravity of what was being shared. It was asterisk how asterisk it was being shared, with so much stillness, so much clarity. Every word felt earned, not performed, asterisk lived asterisk. And in that space, something unspoken passed between them. Trevor, the host, became Trevor, the witness. He didn't interrupt. He didn't steer it back to comedy or surface talk. He just leaned back, let the silence hang, and stayed there with him. That silence said everything, because when someone speaks from a place of deep truth, it doesn't demand a reply. It demands your asterisk presence asterisk. You could feel the audience holding their breath, not in discomfort, but in awe. Because it's rare asterisk, so rare asterisk, to see someone speak like that on a platform built for entertainment. No filters, no polished sound bites, no agenda, just raw, honest reflection, and the silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was sacred. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. There was no need. He was simply sharing what life had taught him the hard way. And the moment didn't feel like a TV segment. It felt like a pause in time, a crack in the noise where something real could finally land. You could see Trevor's expression shift. The smile faded, replaced by something softer, respect, maybe even reverence. Because he knew what we all knew in that moment. This wasn't about movies or fame. This was about being human, about carrying pain with grace, about surviving without bitterness, about showing up not for applause, but for truth. And that's what made it powerful, not just the words themselves, but the fact that they weren't wrapped in performance. They were offered gently but unapologetically, and Trevor wisely let the moment breathe. He gave the silence space to speak louder than either of them could. There are moments when silence is uncomfortable. Then there are moments when silence is sacred. This was the second kind. The kind you don't rush, the kind that leaves a mark, the kind that makes you look at your own life a little differently. And when the silence finally lifted, he didn't try to fill it with jokes or spin it into something neat. He just nodded gently, like someone who knows the weight of what was just said, and is willing to carry it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. He didn't plan some grand finale. There wasn't a dramatic crescendo or a rehearsed mic drop. Just a quiet breath, a thoughtful pause, and then something so simple, so disarmingly real that it landed harder than any headline ever could. He said, "I've lost people, I've let people down, I've messed up, and I've tried to make it right. And through it all, I've learned one thing: this world can be cold, but we don't have to be." That's when you could feel the room lean in, not physically, but emotionally. Like everyone in that space, from the front row to the back wall, felt the weight of that sentence sink into them. He started talking about kindness, not as a catchphrase or something soft and sentimental, but as a choice. A daily decision. He said it's not about being perfect or always knowing what to say. It's about showing up. For someone, for anyone, especially when they don't expect it. He talked about how, in the world he came from, both the industry and the upbringing, kindness wasn't always the currency. You had to fight to hold on to it, and sometimes it was mistaken for weakness. But he never bought into that. Because real strength, he said, is choosing compassion when it would be easier to walk away. Real power is reaching out when no one's reaching for you. He didn't make it sound easy. He admitted he's failed at it more than a few times. But he said the point isn't to be flawless. It's to be aware. Aware of how our words land, aware of how fragile someone might be behind a strong face. Aware of the fact that we're all just trying to make it through the day, with some part of our soul still intact. Trevor was still quiet, just listening, no rush to wrap it up, no pressure to pivot. The studio had turned into something more than a set. It was a space for truth. And then, with no fanfare, he shared the kind of thought that doesn't just close a conversation. It shifts it. He said, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that people remember how you made them feel far longer than they remember what you did. So if you get the chance, be the reason someone still believes in something good. Not because you had to, but because you could. He didn't wait for applause. He didn't look around for approval. He just let the silence return one last time. And maybe that's what we're all here for, not to impress each other, but to lift each other, even just a little, while we're here. He stood there, not as a star, not as an icon, but as a man, one who had carried grief, turned down millions, and chose compassion over applause. He didn't preach. He didn't ask for sympathy. He just showed us what it means to stay human in a world that keeps asking you to forget. And in those few moments, he reminded everyone watching, on stage, in the studio, or behind a screen, that it's not the fame, the fortune, or the spotlight that defines a legacy. It's the heart behind it all. So if tonight left you speechless, let it be for the right reason. Not because he shocked you, but because somewhere deep down you felt seen. Because sometimes the quietest voice in the room is the one that leaves the loudest echo.